Thank you so much for those absolutely thoughtful comments, Dr. Bonner, and leading us right in to our kind of round table, where I would like to recap what we've heard. As you know, AIDSImpact employ a wonderful artist who tries to capture the essence of what we've learned today. So I'm going to take you through the recap, and then we have the members of the board who are present today, and our speakers who are going to take questions, answer questions, and we hope more questions will pour in. We have time for them. So we've wonderfully captured the whole experience that Professor Gray outlined to us, looking at HIV research and infrastructure, which has become the big platform or the springboard for so much of the COVID vaccine development. And I think the story was really quite fascinating, seeing the rollout and getting a sense of bringing things to the people. And in a way, some of that camaraderie that we saw, for example, with the AIDS quills and with the AIDS response, we can see the parallels. And it's also wonderful to see that some of these key players were people who worked with HIV and were ready to jump. Professor Gray has been called to an emergency ministerial meeting on the Delta virus, so we'll have to take her questions in writing, but the rest of the panel will try and deal with any. Dr. Ward gave us this fascinating understanding of vaccine hesitancy, a new concept, a new word, and having a sociological perspective allowed us to deconstruct it a little bit. You know, is it a scale or is it absolute? People just talk about people as being vaccine hesitant. Well, what about those who might be defined as hesitant but are just waiting and seeing? Are they the same as those who will never want a vaccine? And are they the same as those who actively try and promote to other people not to have such a vaccine? Where do they differ? And this diversity of reasoning amongst them is something we really do need to understand. And it's not new. We're applying it to HIV, we're applying it to COVID, but these are depth lessons for many compounds, and not just vaccines, for HIV testing, for PEP and PrEP. We then moved on to the fascinating account. Can we have the next wonderful visual from Adiba? We're thrilled to have Adiba joining us and giving us this sort of really interesting contrast of the inequity and things that are acted with speed. And it was fascinating. I don't think I've ever seen this contrast between how the slow ratchet up from the 80s to the 2020s with HIV contrasts to the vaccines in less than a year. So this HIV interweaving, and I think she mentioned prisoners and refugees or migrant workers, but I think we can see lots of other groups where inequity clusters, and that in a way takes us over to our final talk, which was by Dr. Bonner, which really dug enormously into the whole issue of understanding vulnerabilities, understanding who is impacted and what we should do about it. And I think when we look at mistrust and we try and understand why is it there and where has it come from, we get very much further than if we sort of name, blame, and shame. So that was an absolutely fascinating talk, and there's some lessons from that talk.